Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Good evening and welcome to the pre-program webinar on analytics from data to insights. I welcome all of you to this webinar scheduled for today, and thank you for all joining this meet. So everyone talking about Emeritus. Emeritus has been named as the global edtech company by Times Magazine. We have collaborated with top B schools for providing accessible and affordable training. Uh, Emeritus provides its online learning platform, marketing, sales, and admissions part of it. And Emeritus has been designing world-class, training systems with global universities. Talking about NUS specifically, everyone, NUS has been ranked 8th in QS rankings overall, and it has been the forefront of computing education, research, providing its students with knowledge, skills, and resources to excel in this tech world. Everyone, moving forward with today's webinar agenda, I will, let me take you through all the agenda for the webinar. I'll first introduce you to the speaker of the webinar. He will then take you through the market demand, moving forward with the program details, and then discuss about who's this program is for. Also discussing about some key takeaways and have a deep discussion of the curriculum. We will then take you through the program highlights, the certification of that you will receive post completion of the course, and what are the next steps that you need to do, and then which are the most important point, that is the Q&A session, right, where you will be asking questions, queries, if any, and we'll be also sharing some exciting offers for you towards the end of the webinar. So please stay tuned with us. Moving on to next, I'm excited to discuss about our guest speaker, Mr. Arpit Jain. He's a passionate data scientist with a keen interest in data science, machine learning, e-commerce, optimization, and user experience. Currently applying his expertise in data analysis, business intelligence, data integration. He uses his domain knowledge to tackle complex, data-driven business challenges. He possesses a diverse skill set, excelling in Python programming, machine learning, Excel modeling, SQL for analytics, descriptive and inferential statistics, and data visualization. So over to you, Arpit.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for introducing me here. I'll
You're
just
welcome.
quickly uh, talk about myself again a bit, and then we'll move forward. So thank you so much for everybody joining us here. As you all know, we are going to be discussing about the program which you are thinking to join with us. So this particular program is going to be comprising with multiple different tools and techniques, which we're going to go in detail in terms of the curriculum. We're going to be discussing about that. But even before that, just going to be introducing myself again. So as Karthik was talking about, I will be a program leader for the course, and I am coming with the skill sets where practically everything is going to be involved, from the basics of stats, Excel, SQL modeling, to machine learning, deep learning, cloud computation. So I take care of each and every skill sets across my work experience as well. And I have been teaching for more than 10 plus years across multiple universities, multiple platforms. So that's where I am coming from. And I will be there to help you navigate through this whole journey, so that making sure that you are having best of your experiences in the learning aspects. So moving forward, let's quickly talk about how NUS and why NUS. So where does NUS school coming into picture? So Karthik, can you go to the next slide? So as you all know, NUS School of Computing is very much ranked number one in Asia for computer science and information systems. Also number one in Asia for computer rankings 2023. So from the schooling perspective, you are very much in the right place where you're going to be taking care of you are going to be taking care of all the respective key skill sets, making sure that you can kickstart your journey in analysis. We're going to go further ahead, and also I'll make sure that you can very much put up your questions in the chat also, meanwhile ensuring that if any case you have any queries, same time you're also addressing those questions very much into the chat box. We are monitoring the chat box. We'll try to answer you as soon as possible, but we're going to have a separate Q&A sessions as well towards the end. Okay, so make sure that you're very much utilizing that part as well. Karthik, can you go to the next slide, please? So now, very important question to understand this, guys. Who is this program for? So who is this program is going to be designed for? Now, for this, we need to understand the very core objective that being an analyst, you're going to be working on data. And data technically is everywhere, right? So you name the organization, you name the sector, data is everywhere, be it telecom industry, be it BFSI, be it supply chain, consulting, logistics, healthcare, everywhere. Data is everywhere. And wherever there is a data, there's a possibility of data science, right? And that practically means you are analyzing your data and helping your team, helping your stakeholders, helping your business management team to take some wiser decisions backed by data, eventually helping the business grow, right? So from an industry perspective, it is agnostic. If you realize the data science, the data analytics course is very much industry agnostic. Now comes on the technical part of it. So am I supposed to be an expert in coding? Am I supposed to be an expert in Excel modeling? Am I supposed to be a very good avid coder to be part of this course? Absolutely not. So what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to start things from very scratch, which is in fact going to be the base route to make sure that you are going to be a good analyst in your career. So we're going to start each and every concept from scratch, and we are not expecting any one of you to come by finishing up certain course, finishing up certain degrees, not at all. So wherever you are, be a non-tech employee, being a tech employee, it is definitely not a problem. And it is never too late, it is never too early in your career to start this course. So making sure that you should have only one thing, which is the will to learn. If you are willing yourself, if you are definitely getting yourself aligned, and if you're willing to get into a data science field, you're very much welcome to join this course. What we're going to do in this course, we're going to ensure that we're going to talk about the entire journey of a problem. It's not about SQL, it's not about Python, it's not about Excel. It's about the connection of all of these things to ensure the business problem is getting solved. And that is exactly what this course is going to be talking about. So solving the real-time problem, understanding the whole journey of the problem statement, starting from framing of the question statement, and then eventually the basic question of getting the data, because the data might not be lying in your laptop eventually, right? You have to get the data from somewhere. And once you get the data, you need to process the data. That basically involves multiple different statistical techniques, some cleanup process, some platform to do those cleanup, and then the analysis process, which needs, again, certain other skill sets, data visualization, statistical analysis, and then eventually on top of that, building a predictive modeling on top of it, which involves probably some machine learning concepts. So we're going to cover the whole journey of problems, starting from the basic skill sets, which is deriving the first stage, coining the business problem. From there, how do you end up utilizing all these tools and techniques? At what stages you're going to need them to end up meeting the business objective? So that is exactly this program is going to be concerning about, and making you aligned to solve the business problem from end to end, irrespective of which industry you come from, irrespective of what skill sets you're coming from. You just need to ensure that you are willing enough to make sure that you want to make your career towards data science. And that is exactly what this program we'll be talking about. Can you go to the next slide, Karthik? So on that note, what will be the key takeaways? So as you've understood, when I said that you're going to be having the detailed understanding of the problem statement, right? So eventually at the end of your course, what are going to be the key learnings which you're going to be going out with? So very first thing, to broaden your thought process, right? Because it's the same problem statement, which is as simple as that. You work for an e-commerce industry, and a problem statement like, I'm not able to sell the product, which is say polo t-shirts. So a simple problem statement like a polo t-shirt not generating revenue for your organization can be developed, can be solved by actually doing the statistical analysis. So how the same problem can be converted to a data problem, that critical thought process, that's what we're going to be working upon. So for that, to solve the problem, which is as simple as that revenue not generating, how can you make the business work out? What key analysis you should be doing, what key areas, what data you should be focusing on, how you should be doing those analysis. So that's where the critical thought process coming into picture. And then we're going to talk about the right tools, right techniques, right concepts to ensure that the same problem is going to be solved. And as I said, it's a whole journey, right? It's not about any individual key skills. It's about the combination of all these skills, which is ensuring you that you're going to be solving this problem. So first is getting the data. That's where SQL going to be coming into picture. So we're going to talk about the SQL concepts. We're going to talk about how you're going to be applying your SQL logic to get the right data from the databases. So all the retrieval queries, we're going to make it from scratch. So don't worry, guys. Even though it looks fancy at the first place, it needs coding, I understand. Even though you're from a non-technical background, we're going to ensure when you finish the module, you are one of the best coders at the end of the course. So don't worry on that. So we're going to take things from the scratch. Absolutely don't panic in that. So we're going to take things from the scratch. That's my first expectation. So we're going to be working on the SQL queries, making you understand how can we access the databases, how can we extract the right data from us. And from there, once we have the data, we need to process the data. So right tools, right techniques, right skill sets. So statistical concepts, the platform, which is actually going to be Python, where you're going to be doing all those analysis. And not only Python, we're going to be also working on data modeling through Excel. So that's where the basic going to be Excel. Then we're going to move towards other tools like Python, Power BI, which is going to be also helping you give you real-time experience over how the trends are being analyzed. So plotting the same thing on Excel through a pivot chart, plotting the same thing to Power BI as a data visualization tool, analyzing it through a detail of Python Bootcamp. So that is all we're going to be doing towards the pre-processing, cleanup, and analysis part of my data set. All the key skill sets going to be covered there. And then eventually we're going to be also moving towards the machine learning part. That's where the predictive modeling going to be coming into picture. So we're going to be covering core-based machine learning algorithms that is going to be revolving around regression techniques, classification techniques, tree-based models. So we're going to give you the detailed outline of machine learning there. And also we're going to be solving some real-time business problems there and making you leverage the available tools, technique available in the market so that you can do your own hands-on projects as well, which is going to be revolving around all of these concepts. So overall, on the above, if I say from the takeaway perspective, you're going to get a comprehensive understanding of how a business problem gets solved. What all key things you require, what all key techniques you're going to be requiring on, what all information about the tools you're going to be needing. So everything is going to be there in this course, which is going to be helping you kickstart your journey. Right? Can we go to the next slide, Karthik? So now on that perspective, let's understand how the curriculum looks like. So as I said, it's a whole journey about how do we solve a problem, right? So it has to be the sequence. It has to be a proper understanding from where a proper connection of each of these topics should be maintained. So as I said, it's all about to solve a business problem. So my core objective of an analyst, being an analyst, is to solve a business problem. And when I say solve a business problem, solve it through data, solve it through some analysis which you have done, right? So the very first step to solve a business problem is obviously to get the data, because to solve any problem, you need to have the data first to perform analysis. And the data might not be lying in your laptop, obviously, right? So you need to get it from somewhere. That's where databases come into picture. And that is exactly where our first module and the second and the third module are going to be based off. So first module, Introduction to Analytics, is going to be giving you an overall structure, how a business problem is solved, giving you a critical thought process, what analytics is going to be comprising about, what all different processes are there, sub steps for each business problem to be solved. And then eventually, once you understand the critical thought process, we're going to move immediately towards my step number one, which is getting the data. That's where databases come into picture. So my module 2, module 3, going to be focusing on databases, going to be focusing on how a SQL query is written to fetch your data from the respective databases, writing the appropriate queries to navigate through all those plethora of data sets you're going to be having in your industry. So get your rightful data to solve the business problem. So we're going to be focusing on 2 weeks of SQL queries there, module 2 and module 3. And once that is done, we're going to move towards the data warehousing concept. So next 4 weeks is going to be prominently comprising towards the data warehousing part. Because what happens generally is not only a single file. You're going to be working with probably tens of tables, tens of different data sources, right? So you need to have a right ecosystem to handle those 10 files. And how do you access, how do we navigate, how do you make sure that you are still utilizing the information coming from all those 10 different data sources to solve your problem. It's not only going to be backed on one single file. And that is exactly where data warehousing going to be coming into picture. So module 4, module 5 focuses on data modeling, ETL concept. That's where how do you extract those information from different data sources, load it back to the table, transform it as per your need, and then eventually do the data modeling. And that is exactly where connections between those multiple tables going to come into picture. So primary key concept, foreign key concept. So all of those relationship, that is exactly where you're going to be finding out your importance what. So we're going to be doing it in my module 4 and module 5. And by the way, all these weeks going to be also comprising of very good use cases. So every week is going to be comprising of your self-paced assignments, going to be your the real-time use cases which you're going to be doing every week to make sure that you are also applying the same concept which you're learning over the week. Module 6 and Module 7 going to go further ahead in terms of the processing stage. So once we have the data modeling done, now we need to process the data. When I say processing, I need to do some computation, some aggregation, some sort of transformation which is needed to analyze your data. That's where logical expressions, data analysis expressions, DAX, some time-based analysis. So I'm going to go deep in terms of statistical concepts of analysis. So week 6 and week 7 is going to be focusing on the detail of my analysis there. So covering all the statistical concepts which is needed to do your analysis. And once that is done, then we're going to move towards the actual visualization phase. That is exactly where now I have done the number analysis, I have done the statistical analysis. How do we make sure that we understand the patterns? That is where the data visualization is going to be coming into picture. And here we're going to be doing it in two different ways. First, we're going to talk about the basic Excel pivoting. So every analysis is backed by the pivot table. So pivot tables, as we all know, is going to giving up a very advanced, very fancy way of summarizing my data set. So we're going to be leveraging the pivot tables. And from there, we're also going to be using the inbuilt property of Excel, the pivot charts, to analyze the given information, which is actually processed through the technique which was taught in Module 6 and Module 7. So we're going to be leveraging all of that in Module 8 to make sure that we are analyzing the data more visually, more graphically well. And also in the week 9 and the week 10, module 9 and module 10, we're going to introduce you another tool which is called as Power BI, which is actually an alternative tool of whatever we have done from module 4 to module 8, which is where you're going to be seeing some fancy plugins of Power BI, which is technically a Power Query editor, which where the transformations will be happening. And it's a BI tool where you're going to be seeing some fancy way of plotting the graph. So we're going to be seeing that Power BI also there. So Power BI is again is going to be a very helpful tool to make your things much more easier. But again, it comes with a certain pros and cons. So we're going to talk about both of that individually in the respective weeks. So we're going to be focusing on Power BI, the transformations activity, Power BI visualizations activity, making a live responsive dashboard where you can manage, track each of your day-to-day activity of your business in a much more easier way. So we're going to do all of that in the module 9 and module 10. And once that is done, that is exactly where we end up finishing up my analysis phase, which is the historical data analysis. Now, from here, we're going to go towards the future analysis, which is predictive analytics going to be coming into picture. What's going to happen in future? And that is exactly where the module 11 and module 12 is going to be based upon, where we're going to be introducing data mining or machine learning in the concept. So then we're going to start talking about the concepts of regression, classification, clustering. We're going to be introducing a lot many different algorithms to you, the tree-based algorithm, the clustering techniques, the K-means. We're going to talk about all these algorithms here and also going to be hand-holding you in terms of preparing those models. We're going to be doing the projects together. So you're going to be understanding how you can implement the same logics in the real-time use cases. So we're going to be doing all of that in our module 11 and module 12. Go to the next slide, Karthik. And once we finish this at the module 12, you're going to have a module 13, which is a week 13, which is dedicated for the capstone. So whatever we have done so far, which is involving from the right beginning of the SQL, from your data analysis, data modeling, data warehousing, statistical analysis, Power BI, and then eventually the machine learning model, all of these concepts, which is practically from coining the problem statement to give the suggestion to the business, everything is going to be captured in a real-time use case, which is practically going to be your capstone project. So then once you finish the week 12, you're going to have the week 13, which is dedicated for your capstone project. So you're going to be working on a real-time use case from end to end. And once that is done, from week 14 onwards, the next 6 weeks is going to be for Python Bootcamp. So we're going to be having the dedicated 6 weeks of learning towards Python. We're going to be introducing you the core concepts of Python, the basic libraries which are required to do your analysis part in Python involving pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn. We're going to talk about linear algebra. So every single concept which you actually were using in during the process of Excel modeling, warehousing, and even the Power BI as well. We're going to doing all of those things through Python as well, right? So we're going to talk about a detailed deep dive into Python, and every week going to be comprising of assignments and the real-time use cases, the projects as well. So that is going to be your next 6 weeks of your program, the Python Bootcamp, focusing you to make sure that things are going to get started from scratch, and you're making yourself comfortable to do the similar analysis on coding front as well. And make sure, guys, here the expectation is not at all that you be a prior coder to join this. Even though you're coming from a non-tech background, we're going to take it from right scratch, making sure that we're going to handhold to make sure that you write even the first lines of your code. So don't worry on that. And once that is finished, we're going to have an optional 4 weeks of Gen AI content also, because these days you must be hearing the generative AI content, which is currently being in the market. So we're going to be having 4 optional weeks of Gen AI content, which is where going to be released to you, which is going to be covering about all the rightful details of how you end up making a generative AI model to you. Which is going to be talking about the large language models detail, the LangChain, the open source platform, giving you the coding examples as well, because by then you must have finished the Python bootcamp as well. So you must be having an idea of how the Python codes are being written. So you're going to be getting introduced to 4 weeks of Gen AI content, giving you the details, the theoretical as well as the practical implementation. How do you end up developing your own Gen AI model, similar to something towards ChatGPTs? We're going to do that. So that is exactly where your next 4 weeks of optional content going to be there. And you're going to be also having, by the way, a master class for the Gen AI content, which is going to be covering all the right cutting edge techniques, latest tools and technique, which is going to be used in the real time market use cases, which we're going to be covering as a hands-on experience in the live session as well. So that's practically what the overall curriculum looks like, guys. Next slide, please, Karthik. So in terms of the overall highlights, if you would have understood, so total course is going to be spread across 19-20 weeks, covering all the respective different courses, starting from the SQL, Excel modeling. We have data warehousing. We're going to talk about statistical analysis, data visualization, Python bootcamp, and also we're going to be having a capstone week. So all this is spreading across 50 plus pre-recorded video lectures. So every week you're going to be getting the pre-recorded lectures by the NUS faculty members, where you're going to be having the details of the concepts respective to that be getting launched to you on your platform. And also that is going to be comprising with a live lecture from the program leader. That's where you're going to be seeing me coming up, taking up the same content from a different perspective, solving the real-time problems and making you understand the same concepts live in the session. We're going to do an hand-holding there. That's where every week content is going to be comprising of. Also, you're going to get 10 plus discussion boards. That's where every week you have an access to a separate dedicated Q&A discussion boards that is very much monitored by the program leaders there, where you have an option to talk about your open questions, talk to your peers, talk to your cohort members, and get your problem solved. You are very much welcome to have a to and fro group discussions there, where it will be monitored, driven by the program leaders, where you have a dedicated way of getting your problem solved. We're going to be doing 10 plus real world examples. In fact, as I've told you, every week you're going to be getting the real world questions. So which is going to be part of your assignment, which is going to be done together as part of your live sessions as well. We're going to be doing all those problem statements together. I'm going to be giving you a detailed explanation of those problem statements. How do you solve it? How do you approach those problems? 2 case studies, 1 capstone project, and a dedicated 6 weeks of Python bootcamp. That's where it's going to give you a complete in and out understanding of how do you approach a problem statement from scratch and how do you deliver it to the business. And at the end, as you've already understood, we're going to be having a modules on Gen AI as well, which is going to be over and above of what you've done so far. It's going to be helping you understand that how the generative AI content are being done. And then obviously on that, a master class towards the end of the Gen AI optional content to give you the real-time feel of how the same things are going to get implemented. So live case study discussion on the masterclass session there. So that's the overall program highlights of the course here, guys. Moving ahead, Karthik. And upon successful completion of your course, you're going to be getting a certificate which looks something like this, where you're going to be having the award of the certificate from the NUS SOC, your name, and the respective degree which is you have done, so which is the analytics, data analytics from data to insights, respective time frame when you have completed this, and then you're going to be awarded this certificate towards a successful completion at the end of your course, guys. Wonderful, great. So I'm going to hand it over to Karthik for the next slides.
Thank you, Arpit. This was very insightful and informative, and I'm sure most of our attendees have, understood about the course content, how it will help them professionally. So, moving on to the next slide about program details. Again, it's a 5 months online duration course which is covering topics, tools that Arpit has covered. So, commitment-wise, it's 6 to 8 hours per week, and it's 100% online. That means since most of us are all working professionals, we can manage it as there's no attendance as such. So you can flexibly learn each week a new tool, a concept, practice, and start applying in your work area. And speaking about the next batch start date, it's 23rd of December. We start with orientation, and from after that we break for Christmas and New Year celebration, and from January onwards we start with module 1. So, and the program fees is 2,200 US dollars plus 9% GST for Singapore citizens and residents. Great. So moving forward, so everyone, if you remember at the initial slide that I discussed about the webinar agenda, I did mention you that the webinar attendees are eligible for an exclusive benefit on the program fees. This special benefit is designed to further support your professional growth and enhance your learning experience. So our program advisors will connect with you via WhatsApp, call, email to discuss the exclusive offer and referral benefit offer. So we have limited seats left with this higher benefit. So my recommendation to all of you would be to enroll before tomorrow 4 p.m. Singapore time, that is 14th of December, to avail the offer. And I would now like to open the forum for Q&A and request Arpit to please take up your questions and answer them. Yeah, thank you.
So we are seeing the questions on the Q&A session as well. So there were a couple of questions related to the Capstone project, and I could see people also asking questions if I need a prior understanding, if I'm not from a tech background, so shall I still enter it? So guys, as I've mentioned, so we're going to be covering things from scratch. So don't worry on that. Even though you're not from a technical background, as I've clearly mentioned that, you can absolutely be free to join here. We're not expecting anybody to come from a technical background. We're going to be doing things from scratch. Even the coding part is going to be done from the scratch, right? So it's absolutely fair enough. And even though you're coming from a respective different domains, so as I've said, data is valid across all the sectors. So you're going to be finding the usages of this everywhere. So irrespective of which industry you come from, irrespective of whether you're tech or a non-tech background, you are very much welcome to join us. And the Capstone project going to be covering everything from end to end scratch. So as I mentioned that, calling the problem statement, from there, data collection strategy, doing the cleanup, getting the data from the SQL, and then building up the use case on top of it, building up a dashboard, building a predictive model, everything is going to be captured in the Capstone project on a real-time use case. Right. I have a couple of more questions. So are these softwares that we need to pay for? No, not at all, Lisa. So there'll be no software we'll be supposed to pay. We'll be using the open source softwares. But yes, Power BI is an expensive tool, but we're going to be using the community edition of it. So respective to industries, there are different editions of it, but we do have a community edition for Power BI. So we're going to be using that. So there's no tool there where you need to pay. So it's all our open source platforms and tools which we'll be using. I have a question here. We have to use certain tools and applications, right? So we'll have to download all of them into our laptops. Yes. So you'll be expected to download those tools and applications, but those are very, I would say, not too heavy of tools. So there will be a basic requirement of your system, obviously, like minimum of 8 GB of RAM types. And if that is fine, you should be able to run through everything. And that is, I think, the very basic requirement and nothing else. So don't worry on that. very basic softwares. Yes, couple of them we need to be downloading it, and we'll be talking about it when the right time comes. So you don't need to download it in the beginning itself. So when the right time comes, we're going to do that. Okay, so what is the total? Is all tools is free? Yes. Lifetime, yes. It's going to be free, as we have said. Uh, if we miss an assignment submission, can we extend the assignment submission date? Okay, that's a good question. So because as we understand, we all are working professional, and most of us might be having some work prior engagements and all that for that particular week. So good part about this is we can have an extension if it's a valid reason, but obviously then it has its own respective repercussions, not as a penalty to your grades, but your grading timeline might be delayed. So, but yes, to answer your question, it is still a possibility with a valid reason. So don't worry on that, gently.
Hi, Arpit. I believe Casey has a question. I think she's got two questions. How is it different from other programs from NUS? Also, of course, the total course fee, the optional AI program. The program advisor will take the second question, but can you assist with the first one?
Yes. So the first question, when it says how it is different from the other courses of NUS. So it's all about every course has its own pros and cons. Every course has its own objective, right? So this course is dedicated towards giving you a core idea towards how we can ensure we can have a whole holistic view of solving the business problem from end to end, which is starting from probably a business problem, which is where you need to get the data, and then the pre-processing, and then solving a problem, basically on Python, Excel, multiple different platforms, and getting the problem solved. Some of the courses are dedicated towards Python. For example, there's a separate course which runs only for Python. So we have dedicated 15 weeks of Python training going on. So very much in deep of Python. But that does not mean that we are not going to be covering the concept which is involving for your own learning. So every course has own objective statement. So don't compare like apple and an orange there. So every course has its own objective. This course is more dedicated towards giving you a whole holistic view to solve the entire problem end to end, not capturing one single piece of it. It's going to be capturing every single aspect from starting of a problem. How do you deliver the business problem to the business? That is what this course talks about. Yeah, I think that for the second problem, probably business can answer it.
Oh, Arpit, there's Lisa. She has a question. Will RPA like Power Automate be taught?
Sorry, which question is it? I missed that question. Can you come
I think it's right on top by Lisa. Will RPA like Power Automate be taught?
No, we are not going to be covering RPA and the power automation there. But that's a different topic altogether. That does not come as a core data science program, so that's not going to be part of the curriculum. So what I've mentioned in the curriculum, that's all of these stats will be, all of these tech will be part of the curriculum, not RPA.
John has a question. What is the difference of the Python for analytics and this course? Are they the same?
Yes, so they are not the same. So this course is more towards end-to-end, as I've mentioned, but Python for Analytics is giving you the right information about how only through Python you end up solving this problem. Because in this course, if you realize, we talk about multiple tools. We talk about SQL, we talk about Excel, we talk about pivots, we talk about, there's something called as Power Pivot also. We're going to talk about Power BI. We're going to talk about how a machine learning is going to be done through a separate tool called as Orange. We're going to be working on the Bootcamp of Python, which is where, again, the Jupyter Notebook, the platform of Jupyter are going to be coming into picture. So we actually cover the entire view of how a problem is getting solved. But in Python for Analytics course, you're going to be only covering about the Python as a platform. So on Python, again, from scratch, how do you solve this problem? That is the difference in these two courses, right? But again, they have their own, as I said, pros and cons. So it's all about, you see it from a wider angle, you see it from one different angle. So that's how this course is being structured.
Thanks, Arpit. Lisa has another question. How is your program different from NUS ACE?
That I'm unaware of, so need to check the curriculum of that, Vinita.
Sure, no worries. Lisa, maybe one of the program advisors can get back to you next week with the answer. We have another question. If, let's say, I want to pursue Masters for Data Analytics, Data Science, after taking this course, will I have a higher chance to get in, especially in NUS?
I mean, why not? I mean, this is a good question. I appreciate that you asked this question. See, I mean, it's not about no one can guarantee, obviously, in that, right? But yes, if you ask me that if you have done a prior course, a certification program, then obviously, yes. I mean, you can expect that to happen. Eventually, I mean, it's not like I'm committing you that you'll be given a priority there, but it's normal notion that it is expected out of that, right? Because you've done a similar prior learning from anywhere. So if I have to answer you that question, I would answer maybe yes, because there's no 100% guarantee to it. But logically speaking, yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Arpit. I think we have one of the last questions that says, how will this course able for us to career switch? And after this course, when can we progress for further study?
That's a good question. So, see, as I've said, this course is going to be ensuring that you kickstart your journey. Does not, because you understand every single topic can go to nth dimension. People do PhD for a same topic of statistics for 5 years, right? So what we are doing here is to ensure that you understand how do you start your career, right? And then eventually with time, with business requirements, with objectives of your respective industry, you end up taking smaller pieces and you keep on expanding your knowledge. Right, that's what everybody does. So it's a very vast field. First of all, you need to understand that, right? Every single place, it's a research field, and every now and then new tools and techniques going to be coming up, right? So we have to obviously be smart enough to upgrade ourselves with time. That's the first prior requirement. But this course is going to be definitely ensuring you that you can kickstart your journey, and then with time, with more experience, you understand what is a priority, and then eventually keep on reading on that.
Great. Thanks, Arpit. So Ratna has a question like, for this course, who is the targeted audience and for who will you recommend it to?
Everyone. So as I was saying, so across all the industries, irrespective of which industry you come to, irrespective of whether you are techie or a non-techie, it is designed for every single person. So and I would recommend for the person who are willing to make a switch in data science, irrespective of where they are coming from, who they are, it's all about your will. So it is completely designed in a way that it is agnostic to people coming from wherever they are.
Great. So Arpit, actually, I have a question on behalf of our learners. Can you actually do a deep dive on what is a Capstone's project like? What are the topics and what are the benefits of the Capstone project?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll do that. So, like as we all know, it's not about us reading the things all the time, right? So we have to get it implemented real time as well. And that is exactly where Capstone will be helping us, helping all of us in that case. So what do we want right now is whatever we have learned for the past 12 weeks of learning, that's going to be comprising every single thing, which I said, starting from the core raw of getting the data, which is SQL, and then how do you process it, what tools you need, what technique you need, and then eventually visualize it through a Power BI dashboard. And then if needed, build up a predictive modeling on top of that. So all these smaller pieces which got bifurcated across 12 weeks of learning is going to be comprised under one single capstone week. So the students are going to be going through a rigorous test. That's where a problem statement, an open problem statement will be given and certain instructions to go through it towards it. And then they will be doing everything from scratch, which is right from extracting the data from the DBs, which is doing the SQL queries, process the data, clean the data, visualize the data, and probably if needed, publish a predictive modeling on top of it. That is exactly where Capstone is going to be helping you, all of us. So where whatever you've learned over the scattered 12 weeks of learning comprise under one single bucket. And that is the beauty of Capstone project, going to be giving you a real-time feel of how a business problem is solved.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Arpit. So I think Chantal has a question. If I need one-on-one help live, where can I get it from?
Multiple channels, so you can reach out to the support team. You can even reach out to the program leader. You can send us a direct mail also. So on the learning platform, you have an option to reach out to each and everybody. So you can send us a direct message. You can even reach out to the program leader. That's going to be me, and you can send your one-to-one query as well. So we can discuss over messages. We can probably set up a call also if required be. So every single support. The idea is to obviously help you grow, right, and to make sure that you understand and you have your best learning experience. So all these channels are very much open here. So don't worry on that.
Great. And I think we have another question. Are we focused on learning only or will have theory like AI supervised and unsupervised for orange tools?
So as I said, it's not theory at all. And we're going to be using all these tools to do practicals as well. And all this week, wherever we're going to be seeing the recorded sessions coming up and the live sessions coming up. So first half is going to be describing what we will be doing, because that's something important. You need to know what you have to do. And the second half of that same week is going to be the practicals, where you're going to be seeing the lab weeks coming up. The lab exercise is going to be coming up. So real-time implementation of those things also going to be shown, both in the recorded videos plus as a hands-on exercise as well. So it's not going to be only theory, it's going to be very much practical applications as well.
Great. Which mean it includes theory, which I believe is yes.
Yeah. So basics of theory is always required, right? So to navigate and to solve the problem, we need the basics of learning first and then the implementation. Because if I directly jump towards implementation part of it, without telling you what it is, you will probably kill me for that. So you need to understand what it is, and then eventually we're going to do the practical application. So both, it's going to be an amalgamation of both of these, the learning plus the implementation.
Well, thank you. And Arpit, let me tell you, we definitely need you alive for this program.
Absolutely. Looking forward.
Great. So I think most of our questions have been answered. If anybody has any more questions, we'll wait for another minute or two before we close the webinar. So also a small announcement. Today was the application deadline. However, for the attendees of the webinar, we do have an exclusive benefit. So do connect with your program advisor after the webinar today evening, tomorrow morning, and make use of that benefit. Great. So we do not have any further questions, Arpit. Really, thank you so much for having this session, for all your insights. It was wonderful to have you here. Thank you to all our wonderful participants. Hope to see all of you all in the classroom.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arpit. Thank you to all the webinar attendees.